My name is Adelaide Aba. I am based in Ghana. I'm a Ghanaian. I work with Come Study International as a managing consultant, or I would say a managing partner, pretty much focused on study abroad. And the focus is more on African students, so helping African students explore study opportunities abroad. So that's what we do.
What inspired you to go into the study abroad industry over 12 years ago?
Okay. So I think I found myself in it. I stumbled upon it. And I say that because had the opportunity to study myself as an international student in the UK. And after studying, after my graduation, um, I had the opportunity to remain in the country based on my post-study work permit. And so in the process of looking for a job, I found a business school that was looking for a recruitment manager. At that time, I had no experience whatsoever, but I sailed through the interview process, and that's where what actually got me into the study abroad industry, i.e., I found myself working in a business school.
What gap did you see in the international education sector that motivated you to start CAM Study International in 2018?
So I would say that I realized one, first of all, a lot of students, and I say international students, my focus being on African students, had, prior to myself also having the opportunity to study abroad, I had to do all the search myself. I had no experience, no knowledge, no support from anywhere. I had to get on the internet and do my own thorough research and everything. Now, having been in the industry, i.e., having the opportunity to have worked with a business school as a recruitment manager, focusing on international students, I noticed there's a huge gap in terms of like students don't really know what to look for and why they're looking for work.
Before we continue, I'd like to give a quick shout out and thank our sponsor and donors for supporting our training program that empowers women to become plumbers, integrated legal consults, Amayal Deborah, Pastor Lab Medical Laboratories, Range Angels, Vision with V, Cleopatra Incubator, and not forgetting our media partners, Ghana Webbers.
And so I felt that the experience that I gathered myself as an international student, having had the opportunity to live in the UK, to study in the UK, to go through the whole experience, and then finding myself working with a school. And my main focus was helping recruit international students across Africa to come to the UK. I noticed that there's a huge gap. And so I felt, having gathered that experience, it would be great to extend that helping hand, pretty much guiding international students properly as to what processes to follow to be able to be successful as myself, where I was in their shoes years ago when I was looking for the opportunity to study abroad. So the support with the application process, the support with their statement of purpose. When you're writing an essay, what do universities look for? So a lot of people may have all the qualification, but sometimes when it comes to putting or translating their experience, the academic and work experience onto paper, it becomes a challenge. And so having gained that expert skills and expert knowledge, I felt I am well positioned to be able to guide international students properly because I have walked that journey, and I feel I will be able to hold their hand to successfully walk that journey. So that was the whole idea behind setting up Come Study International.
What are the biggest mistakes students make when applying to study abroad, and how do they overcome them?
I would say the number one thing and is to do with their documentation. Right. One, a lot of students these days, right? And this has been as a result of all these immigration challenges and issues that are coming up. And I've had experiences where students have tried to amend their results, for lack of a better word. Yes. Um, By then, a lot of into that universities didn't fully understand the African educational system. So there were situations where students are able to touch up their results, to say that, oh, this university is looking for so and so entry requirement. Let me touch this result and make it look appealing. Another aspect has to do with even when they're thinking they are successful and they have to apply for visas, some are also, are able to, one way or the other, find bank statements to support them without knowing who that bank statement belongs to. So the whole challenges of going out there and purchasing a bank statement, you see. And a lot of students don't even know that the embassies and the universities have systems that are able to search, do background search, and are able to tell what documents are fake and what documents are real. And for me, it has been something, it has been a canker. It's gone on for years and years and years. And as we speak now, we're seeing the repercussions of that, you know. And this our urgent desire to want to go study abroad, even when the means is not there. For me, I feel that it dates back to, if we're talking Africa, the challenges, the economic situations, the lack of employment, especially for graduates and things, it dates back to those things. So then these young people are thinking, life is so tough, life is so hard here. It's always better on the other side. So anything and everything that I can do to help get me there, I am willing to do that. And so for me, I feel that that is the crux of the challenges that a lot of international students, African students face.
Which destinations are currently most attractive for international students and why?
Interestingly, I know there's a lot if you mention the study location like the USA because of all these different immigration challenges and difficulties that these challenges and these changes have brought. Um, USA used to be very popular. Canada used to be very popular. UK obviously is still very popular. But regardless, right, regardless of all these high visa immigration, visa rejections in Canada, all these challenging immigration rules that keep changing in the USA, trust me, these locations are still very popular. These locations for us on the other side, i.e., we're looking for opportunities to open up and expand the study destinations, right? But time and time again, students are still coming and they are asking for the USA, they are asking for Canada, they are asking for UK.
By the way, if you're still here with us, we'd like to give a quick shout out to Flower Bar GH. You can get all your flowers and roses at Flower Bar, and they're a big supporter of what we do here at Just Women Africa.
But I would also say that, interestingly, certain destinations in Europe are gradually also becoming popular. And one of them is Germany. So Germany has become extremely popular because now they're doing a great job by putting that study destination on the market. We have universities that lecture in English. So, years back, you mentioned Germany and nobody wants to know about Germany. But now, because they've done a good work of positioning Germany on the market, we do have a lot of students coming forward and asking for Germany to go study in Germany, both in public institutions. And as a result, some of them are actually undertaking German language, and both in the private universities who solely focus on English, doing their teaching in English. So I would still say the popular ones are still very popular, regardless of the immigration challenges. And Germany and certain destinations in Europe are still opening up. Yeah.
Okay. How do you match students with the right program and university?
Okay. So one thing that I do, and I would say my organization does that most do not do, is we do take it upon ourselves to embark on a lot of visits, to these universities. So we're not just sitting there and reading about universities, because every university, believe you me, has a beautiful story on their website. You go on their website and they're lovely stories. They're sharing all the nice things. But until you go and you visit their campuses and actually interact with students, you wouldn't have a clear picture of what it is, right? And so for me, African students are very smart when it comes to the qualifications. Majority of the time, they have the entry requirements. They make the entry requirement fair and square. But beyond the entry requirement, there are things that I look out for because for me, having walked that walk, being an international student, there are things that I struggled with. So I wouldn't pick somebody's young child and throw them in any university simply because they have the program of interest and then the young child or even the adults meets the entry requirement. But I also look out for universities that are well partnered, right? So you have universities that have global partnership with industries. And so the chances are if that particular student is placed at that particular university, depending on the programs that they're doing, they have the opportunity to do internship. I also look out for universities that provide a lot of support and hand-holding experience because as an African student going into an entirely new country where the study process is completely different, you want to make sure that you are actually placing students in universities that have the love, the support, and the passion to see student progress. And so by seeing student progress, it means that they have drop-in sessions, students sit in class, and if they don't understand anything, they're able to reach out to their professors, go book sessions, sit down for further support. And you have universities that are welcoming, and it's not just about the students is able to, they met the entry requirement, they pay their fees, they got their visa, and they are there. But whilst they are there, what kind of emotional and support that you're giving them? What kind of extra support, that you're giving them to help them integrate into the new environment? And for me, it's not just about academic because for the next, let's say 2 to 5 years, this particular university environment is going to be their new home, right? And you want a situation where these young people get to the place and they feel like they are part of the student body, So those are like crucial things that I look out for because I want students to go not just enjoy their study experience, but also to enjoy their life and have a good experience and a holistic experience. And so if a university doesn't look like that, I'm not putting any student there.
What are the most common challenges students face when transitioning to studying abroad, and how do you help them prepare?
The weather, because depending let's talk because I'm from West Africa and we're predominantly a very hot we have a hot weather condition, and we only have 2 seasons. It's either is the dry season or the wet season. And so the weather is one of the things that really becomes a challenge for students, when they travel abroad. Finding the balance to be able to, manage the weather conditions for me, I think is one thing. Another challenge that I would say will be the culture shock. Culture shock because they're seeing different things that they are not used to. They're getting into an environment where professors are telling them, "Call me by my first name," and back in Africa, it's a no-no. Do you understand? So call me by my first name, and it feels so strange to them. Talk about the food. I come from West Africa, Ghana. We love our hot chili, So you find yourself in an environment where the food is so bland, But I'm like, it's all part of the experience. But that also tends to be a challenge, Trying to adapt to having a new taste, but adjusting your taste buds to be able to, find a balance between what you're used to and what you have to get used to. And I would also say that sometimes it's the language barrier, because if you're studying in the USA, in the UK, we speak English back home, all right, But then it was one thing that I always share the story each time I meet students. I'm like, I went to the UK, and the only thing that stopped me from not coming back was because I had saved up and I had borrowed to go study. And so until I achieve the main purpose for which I came here, there's no way I'm going to go back, because I mean, trust me, my first semester was it was a hassle, because I'm sitting in class, right? The lecturer is speaking English all right, but I couldn't understand a word. I couldn't understand a word. So I was like, oh my God, what just went on? Sorry. And then in certain situations where you don't even understand something and you want to ask questions, but you're not sure whether they are going to laugh at your English. Are you going to have the confidence? So I didn't have that. And I see a lot of international students also go through that struggle. And so one thing that we do pre-arrival session or pre-departure sessions, and I make them aware, so certain things don't catch them off guard. Because I'm like, where you're going, it's not about what the book is saying. It's about what you have read, and it's about what you think. That's where you express when you're doing exam. They always would ask you critically analyze. I struggled with that word in my first semester. Critically analyze. So we're not pouring back exactly what the tutor has taught us, because that's how it's done back in Africa. But then the tutor is like, yes, tell me what I told you. Tell me what books you've used and researched into. And at the end of the day, tell me what you think. And these are things that we're not used to. And so again, that's the style of teaching, the way of lecturing, how to even be bold and express yourself, because it's not just theory based. There's a lot of practical, a lot of presentation where you have to stand in class and deliver, you know, and that tends to be a challenge, because most of our local universities back home, you have 200, 300 people sitting in a class. And if it's exam, you're just taking, and these are some of the challenges: the weather, trying to integrate your food, adjusting your taste buds. And for me, the culture shock and the language barrier is one of the things, a few things that I think are challenges for international students.
How competitive is the study abroad market, and what sets Camp Study International apart from other educational consultancies?
First of all, I always would say that I have a personalized experience. And that's one thing that we bring on board, because the journey that these students are looking to embark on, I have done it, right?
Okay.
That is number one, because I've been there. And so I can put myself in their shoes and feel what they feel. Number two, the opportunity to have visited most of the universities that we've worked with. So we're willing to put in the budget, to purchase the flight, the fare, to book the hotels. We're not waiting for a university to extend a helping hand to say, okay, maybe next year, or work for us in 2 years' time, we invite you to come and look at our campus. No, we're always willing to invest in the business by doing these things. And for me, I think it's one of the things. There's so many people out there calling themselves study abroad agents who have never even crossed the shores of Africa, i.e., the location that they are. But yet they are looking to send people to the USA, to Canada, to UK, and whatnot. But they've never actually been there themselves, right? And so for me, I think it's one thing that sets us apart. Another thing that I think sets us, Come Study International, apart is our values, and the passion with which we do our work. And I guarantee you, go on Google, read the reviews. We give students a personalized experience. We give them a boutique service, because no two clients are the same. So you can't use the same module and the same style that you handled one person and replicate it to another. So for me, everybody comes with their own set of desires and their own set of, requirements. And I make sure I meet them fair and squarely and handle them as it is. And we're very, very, we care, because look, it's expensive. Study abroad is not cheap. And you have parents who have come to you, they are placing a lot of trust in you, right? We have situations where I've had stories, and because I get very much involved in terms of getting to fully understand my clients. Sometimes they tell me, parents tell me, listen, we had to sell the family land. Oh, I had this jewelry, but I have to sell it because I do not have the funds. Sometimes they have to take their pensions. Sometimes they have to dip their hands in their pensions. Sometimes parents have to go for loans, huge loans that, you sit there and you know that it's going to take them like over 10 years before they will be able to actually pay off these loans. And so when you hear stories like that, you are very, very careful that you don't just throw the kids anywhere, because you want to place them in places where there's return on investment. You know, there's return on investment. So the love, the support, the care, and then the empathy that we have when it comes to delivering our work. For me, I always say that what we do here is not just selling tomatoes on the market. It's about people's future. It's about their destiny. And you want to make sure you place them in the right place where they would go with the support and encouragement. They're going to have return on investment. So for me, I think these are the things that makes us special and sets us apart from the rest.
Have visa restrictions or changing immigration policies affected students' choices recently?
Well, sometimes because over time and over the years, we've built the knowledge, we've built the skills, we've built the expertise. There's certain clients that come to us that you look at all the factors, right? Taking into account their background, their academic background, their financial background, their immigration background. And certain times all you just say is that, you know what? I think you're better off studying in Ghana, right? We're very realistic, very, very real. It's not about the numbers. It's about the quality that each student, or the quality that we're offering. So there's some immigrations backgrounds that you just know that, look, I put this particular person forward, chances are they're just not going to get it. There are certain countries that if you do not have the funding, and if the funding is not coming from your direct parents, you risk being rejected. There's certain countries that if there's a huge gap in your study, you know, so ever since you graduated, there's a huge gap. You haven't been to school, or had any academic experience. There's certain countries you will not be successful. There's some clients also who have very bad immigration history. So some of them have had visa rejections over the years. Some even have been banned, you know. And so you have that realistic conversation with them and to say, listen, because of A, B, C, D, we do not think that this time around it's the best time to go. Now, there's been situations where there's still a lot of uncertainties. And for me, I feel sometimes given it a term or a semester or two, things will begin to stabilize. And so when we do come across clients who are insistent on wanting to go to particular countries, sometimes we're like, listen, maybe it might be beneficial to do 1 term or 1 year in Ghana and then transition. Hopefully by then the immigration situation would have stabilized. So we put different options across. There's some we just tell them, your child is a bit too young and immature. Although this particular university takes 16, they take 17-year-olds, we feel that wait until they're a bit mature and then you can, let them go. So as for immigration changes, it would come and go. It's always done that. For me, nothing is surprising. It's a season. It comes once in a while. Everything, it becomes like a topsy turvy. Everything is all over the place. Give it a bit of time, and then it would all settle back in. And so we're not phased out at all. We're not perturbed. We're just saying, okay, looking at the immigration situation, maybe the best case scenario, somebody who has the financial backing from their parent, they're just from high school, they've had the opportunity to even embark on several you get some clients who have this every vacation they travel. they go to the US, then they are in the UK, then they are in Germany, and they are there. You get a client like that and they want to study abroad. They've had the experience. They have very good immigration record. And so you're able to assist them. But there's some where the situation doesn't help at all, you know. And that's when we explore. And for me, I say that yes, we have our own challenges when it comes to Africa, but we actually have a very, very good educational system in Africa as well, you know. And so although there are changes, hey, look within Africa. And I believe I've in one of my posts, I've spoken fondly about that. It may not be Ghana, it may be South Africa, it may be Namibia, it may be Kenya. You know, we equally have very, very good educational system. And so if you do want to probably travel out and you don't want to continue studying in Ghana, you don't always need to look at the West. Within our African continent, we have very, very good universities. And it's one of the things that I'm very particular and passionate about pushing as well. So it doesn't have to always be UK, USA, whatnot. Within Africa, we can still, recommend, and students can still have a very, very good experience studying and also have great job opportunities beyond that.
Where do you see the future of international education heading, especially with online learning and hybrid programs growing?
I think these options are very, very good, especially when it comes to online, right? You have a situation where people have worked over the years, they've grown, they've been promoted, and they are in good positions, right? And so I don't want a situation, it's not everybody that desires to have a Western qualification wants to necessarily leave the country physically. There are situations where a lot of people are very, very comfortable in the work that they are doing, and they would welcome the opportunity to study online because it gives them the advantage to be able to still um, add additional qualification whilst they do not lose their job. Okay. You have families who are very, very young babies, literally, and they are not looking for a way to run away, but they want to still have the opportunity to have um, additional qualification. They can stay and do online. So for me, online has come to stay because online is giving other study routes for people to also explore. If you're doing online, you're not dealing with any immigration situation. And a lot of online programs are also very, very flexible, that there isn't a time factor on it to say that, hey, you must do 6 or 7 modules this term. But the flexibility that it comes with, that people can still work and then still fill in or fit in the online option. So at the end of the day, you're working, you're earning your salary, you're still adding work experience to your profile. And then at the same time, you're pacing yourself by getting additional qualifications. So online, I would say, yes, it's one of the big things that is going to grow and be huge, because then all these immigration challenges and situation, people can explore that option. And there are situations where some universities you can do online and then at the end of that come and do a graduation physically. And so the costs that you're saving, all the immigration situation when it comes to studying abroad, and the student visa tends to be a lot more because you're paying and there's so many documents that you need to put together. But then if you're just going to do a graduation, chances are you just apply for a visitor's visa, which is pretty straightforward. And then you still will fulfill that dream of studying abroad, i.e., by getting that Western qualification.
What has been your biggest lesson as an entrepreneur in the education sector?
One of my biggest lessons has to do with being able to change in times and seasons, right? And I say this because currently the system has become very porous. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry is calling themselves an educational consultant. And because of the changes that are happening in the universities as well, a lot of them are losing funding, right? quite a number of universities have become number focused, right? And so they are ready to sign up anybody and partner with anybody that promises them a certain number of students, right? And so for me, the bar of entry has now become very low. And so you used to be, let's say you used to be the rep for one particular university, and you have built that relationship over time. The next thing you know, 3, 4, 5 educational organizations down the street are also representing the same university. So so that's a big challenge, okay? And as an entrepreneur, you're not expecting salaries from anywhere. You have to make and earn your own salary. And so what one thing that I have learned over the years is not to be very fixated on one thing. And when you came in, I said that my operations manager is not an in, so I had to be running around. So we're thinking outside of the box. Because let's say we wake up tomorrow and this whole study abroad thing is not there. Universities say, okay, we don't, we just want to do everything ourselves. That's the end of your existence, pretty much. And so what we've done is to diversify, you know, but still we are an educational consultancy. I am an educational consultant. And that is what that I love the fact that this is what I specialize in. This is what I've built experience and expertise and knowledge over the years. Now, how do I diversify so that I can still remain relevant despite the changing scenes? And as a result of that, we have actually set up an after school center, which was launched just yesterday, where one, we've identified a challenge because these days African parents have become very westernized through no fault of theirs, right? Because the work demands is such that you stay so many hours in traffic. Number two, you stay at work and you don't even close until late. And so you have a lot of parents who have young children who are spending majority of their time with house help. Nothing against house helps, right? But for a chunk of the time, you have no idea what your children have been up to beyond school. So you have children who close from school at 3 o'clock and parents don't get home till 8 or 9 p.m. So if you're a parent, you ask yourself, what have they been doing? Have they been using to fill their time? So we've identified this need. We're still an educational institution, and we say, what can we do to support? So we open up this center, which is called Lead After School, where we pick the children when they close from school at 3 o'clock. We bring them to our center. We have facilitators that are taking care, guiding them to do their homeworks. And then we have a lot of board games that are very creative and innovation driven, that these kids can fill up their time. Relaxing, taking a breather, but then learning through relaxation. So this is how we've been able to diversify ourselves. Like, knock on wood, we wake up tomorrow and there's no study abroad consultancy. We're still here. We're still providing education support to young people. And both me and you know that there is no way education will go out of out of the system. It's here to stay.